All good. Yeah. Yes. All good. All good. Gabe just uh
Yeah.
Gabe just texted me and asked if we're doing good. I think we are doing good. And again, I'm like super glad that we're all here today. Thank you for coming to another episode of Drawing for Tattooers. I'm James Wisdom. With me today we've got Amber, we've got Harriet, and we've got Spirit. So,
Woohoo!
morning everybody. So glad you could all come.
A good way to start the week.
This
It
is a
is a good
great
way
way to
to
start
start
the
the
week.
week. It's uh um it's fun to draw, and it's really fun to be together with friends, and other people who are, passionate about doing drawings as well. So, I'm again, I feel like so fortunate to be able to spend this time with you all. Uh ah so I've got to do the morning announcements. Hopefully, that shouldn't take too awful long. Let me see if we can't get it together this time. Okay, so if I can if I can share this screen.
Yep.
Got it. Okay, cool. So this time I was able to figure out. All good, all good. Respond to Gabe so he doesn't think we're slacking, right? Excellent. Okay, and the gang's all here, so good morning, gang. Um, Welcome to Guy Atchison's Reinventing the Tattoo community, where tattooers, apprentices, collectors, and the curious are encouraged to join these live stream real world events. We're here to share, inspire, and ultimately create better art and tattoos together. We beam out nearly every day, and with your help, we've evolved into a quality network of amazing live and on demand tattoo and art shows that have been receiving rave reviews. You can find Reinventing the Tattoo on all the app stores, the Apple App Store, the Google Play Store, as well as our YouTube channel, Facebook page, and Roku at Roku, reinventingthetattoo.com/Roku, where we actually have 15 channels going on at any given time, 24 hours a day. So let's see here. Yeah, you can also catch our podcast on the major podcast directories such as Apple and Spotify. But no matter where you're watching, live or on demand, the latest and greatest can always be found at reinventingthetattoo.com, where you can even try it out for free. There are sample webinars, Reinventing the Tattoo Canon, and we've even got advice from Guy Atchison himself, where you can communicate with him about your unique goals and your tattoo history. So, on that note, we have also a free course from Jay Brown, a comprehensive tattoo history course. And so, I would really recommend that, to anybody interested in tattooing. But of course, like, if you know an apprentice or if you have an apprentice, it's really great for them to get hip to the history of tattooing. Um, okay, we have reinventing. Let's see, I'll scroll down so that way we can start to see. Right, so I'm on the site. So when you come to the Reinventing site, you get a chance to see uh, see for yourself, right? So we have this little a bot down here. We're greetings. We're here to help. Right, we'll close that for now. But um, there is an app for the Reinventing the site. It is cool. And then there's always going to be the stream of whatever's coming up or whatever's current. So next up we've got the Reinventing the Tattoo Weekly. Okay, so da, 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 da. Right. So I mentioned the Roku channel. That's cool. Hopefully, if you have Roku, you're checking us out there. All right. Um, and we also have professional development courses available here on the site. If I can If I can get to it, courses, just to check it out really quick. So there's all of these courses here, um, and they're reasonably priced. And depending on your interest, there's something for so many different interests. But again, there's some free stuff if you want to check it out too. Over 20 world-class tattoo artists have contributed to the canon here. So, anyways, check this out, and be sure to tag a friend, somebody who loves tattoos. Um, yeah, and let's see here. Da, da, da. All right, so we're going to talk about our lineup, right? The lineup of excellent programming that we're currently offering to you. So again, you scroll down here in the page, you can see some of the upcoming programs. Let's kick it off with Sundays at 1 p.m. Eastern with Jason Leeser. That's the Sunday Skills Building Drawing Group, where he talks about how to build up your skills, and it's really kind of a forum for for a lot of just a lot of like question asking, a lot of like peer-to-peer mentoring. So it's really great. Amber, you were there yesterday. That was great. Um,
Mm,
it was excellent. Yeah. So that's Sundays at 1 p.m. Eastern. On Mondays at 9 a.m. Eastern, we've got Drawing for Tattooers with me, James Wisdom, where we really talk about the fundamentals of drawing, as well as like we go through different exercises, all with the goal of just improving our art skills, our drawing skills, so that way we can ultimately use it for our it's a means to our own ends. So that's really the point of our program here. At let's see, right at like 10, let me see, I'm sorry, at 11 a.m. Eastern, right? We've got the Tattoo Weekly with Gabe Ripley, Lauren Gregory, and Jake Meeks from the Fireside Network, one of our affiliate networks. So be sure to check that out. It's all the new stuff with tattooing, what's current in the industry. Um, at I want to make sure I get the times right, so bear with me here. We've got Robbie Ripple show. I have it written down here, but it's oh, here it is, 5 p.m. Eastern. Let's talk about feelings with Robbie Ripple. It is on Mondays, so check out Robbie Ripple show at 9 p.m. On Mondays. We have the exercise and drawing group with Guy Atchison himself and Sandy McAndrew. So that's for that's for those of you who are in the subscription section. Uh, ah, we have paint night with Renee as well on Monday. Again, it's not listed exactly what time that is, and I don't have it written down here. So be sure to check that out. Um, ah, we also have on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. The Tuesday Fields Drawing Group with Ricardo Sturdivant. And that's followed on Wednesdays, 1 p.m. with the Tattoo Now show, hosted by Gabe Ripley. And then finally, Thursdays at 6 p.m., Tattoo Collecting 101, hosted by Fawn Baker. So just a great lineup of shows for all your like tattoo interests. And so as I'm scrolling down here through the site, right, there's all kinds of links to the different shows, and then here's where you could find where to join our shows if you're interested in zooming into any of these programs. It's here's a schedule right here, and you can feel free to join us whenever you'd like. Yeah, and here's where you can talk to Guy and give him all of your info and give him your unique goals. So right, let's just take a moment, and we want to thank some of our sponsors. um, Raw Pigments. Raw Pigments company is tapping into the source rawpigments.co. These are acrylic-free, vegan-friendly, powder-based pigments. They saturate the skin super well. I do have them in my personal lineup. I think they're absolutely incredible. So take a look, rawpigments.co. Uh, worldtattooevents.com, the largest and most comprehensive resource for tattoo. So if you want to find out the next tattoo event, or see if it's been rescheduled, be sure to check out worldtattooevents.com. DLize Pro, also known as Dermalize, is a bandage that's designed to protect your tattoos. So if you're still using Saran wrap, it's time to up your game. Check out DLize Pro, otherwise known as Dermalize in the rest of the world, due to copyright laws. It's breathable. It's been developed by specialists, wound care specialists, and they're specifically designed to help heal your tattoos. So be able to check them out. Tattoonow.com. Tattoonow.com is technology for tattooers. It's the leading edge in professional development, management, and digital tools for tattoo artists of all levels. They have CRM software, professional development tools, and all different types of videos. So go ahead and check out tattoonow.com. It's the leading edge of tattoo technology. And just tell them that Gabe sent you, and you're gonna get I'm sure you'll get the special treatment, right? And of course, this wouldn't be Reinventing the Tattoo without a big thank you to Guy Atchison. Be sure to check out Guy Atchison at guyatchison.com. Guy Atchison is, of course, the founder and inspiration behind Reinventing the Tattoo. And at his website, guyatchison.com, you can find a copy of his Biomech Encyclopedia. He's got DVDs, custom coil machines, oil paintings, and all kinds of prints. So check him out at guyatchison.com, or of course, where you're at right now, reinventingthetattoo.com. We'd like to thank our affiliates. So the Apprenticeship Diaries with Amy Nichols. So if you are a person who's just getting started in your tattoo career, this is a really a great show for you. Of course, the Fireside Network, Jake Meek's educational network. I've been really enjoying a lot of the content on your network, Jake. So thank you very much. All right, and again, you're at reinventingthetattoo.com, and as always, if you would like to become a sponsor, you can email management@reinventingthetattoo.com. All right. All right. So thank you for your patience, gang, and welcome to the show. Let me stop this sharing, and we'll get back to it. Yeah, excellent. So thank you all so much for letting me read all those important announcements. So many people to thank, right? There's so many members of the team that help us, that help make this possible and keep it commercial free. So, we read a little bit of commercial in the beginning, but I'm really excited to get to draw with all of you today. I figured, why don't we do a little bit of warm up, and then I had some stuff to share, and then we're going to do some figure drawing and stuff today, because that really seems to be, it's something that I'm very interested in. It's also something that that you all have really been responding to very well. So I'm going to get my drawing stuff ready here. Let's see. I'm gonna right. Let me. Let's do this. Okay, spotlight.
I watched your a few of your so you have two videos on tonal value, and one of them was where you draw an egg, and the other one is where you draw like a sphere. And
Yeah.
You were talking about there was one thing that you did where you wrote tonal value on the paper, but you couldn't see it. and then you made it darker, and you were like, "This is a perfect example of tonal value." And my mind went, I was like,
That, thank
"Oh
you so
my
much.
god!"
Thank you
Yeah,
so much. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, how uh sometimes sometimes serendipity happens, you know what I mean? You kind
right,
of you get to this you get to this point and like again, I was like looking, I'm talking about tonal value and stuff, and then I can't see it. And then like you said, I wrote it down a little bit darker, and I think that's really kind of I think that's really a great point because it really is all about contrast, right? And
right,
so that's how we can make discernments as artists, but we're going to ultimately help our viewers, the people who view our art, help them with the making these discernments so that they can have they can start to interpret it, right?
right. And you
Because
said that there's a difference between legibility and readability, and that for me was, I mean, that was just so poignant because it's one thing to be able to see what it is, but then it's another thing to be able to understand the story it's trying to tell.
You've got a
thank you
couple of
so much.
videos, the egg one, and then where you drew an orange, and
Hmm.
then also the one with the skull, where we did a
Yes.
lot with tone too. So I don't know,
Hmm.
Spirit, if you saw the one with the skull, but that
Oh, I
was a
haven't. I'll
really
check
good
that
one
out.
too.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah, I'll
there's a
definitely check
Get to that one.
that
I
one out.
well because Spirit was was talking about it last week. I really wanted to. I want to talk about tonal value today, and just to sort of highlight it, like I have an egg. I brought an egg today.
Nice.
Something to practice with, right? But I also have an avocado. So, I really thought that this might be kind of interesting to sort of juxtapose these two objects together because they have a similarity in terms of their form, but their tonal value, their local value, their local color is going to be different. And so, we might be able to apply, the way we understand one to the other. So, so yeah, no, thank you so much, Spirit,
Hmm.
for that. That was, like that it makes me feel so good that you all are like, checking out the content and then like, getting anything from it at all. It's kind of like, you know, for me, I'm learning as I go. Like this whole format is there's challenges, to it. And so I'm busy sort of thinking about how do I set my camera up and can you hear me and stuff. And I guess the stuff that I talk about just sort of, it just sort of pours out sometimes. So I'm really glad that there's some things that you can get from it. Anyway,
Yeah,
why don't we draw some ellipses? I think that'll be a nice way to kind of let's get going. I've been I've been I've been like talking too much today, so let's see. What do I got? Something a darker tone. Yeah, and then I can make that a little bit darker. Right? So the difference, right? The tonal value difference, like light and dark. All right, so let's see here. Draw an ellipse. Again, just sort of go around the track a couple times and just get warmed up. Right. Very fun. Okay. So there's one, right? I think, I just want to move around a little bit. Again, for this exercise, I like to use the shoulder. I really like to use the shoulder a lot. So just going to draw them any orientation I can. And I really want to try to like, I want to try to again like maybe challenge myself, maybe there's a one way that I do it all the time, but in this exercise there's a lot of any sort of way that I can figure it out. 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, 9, 10. The goal is to, make something that is symmetrical, and of course, like uh, an end, that's the beginning, right? You presuppose the end. So it should be symmetrical. It should like be, I guess, ultimately one line, but we have these digital tools. It's 11, 12. We have these digital tools that can help us make these perfectly. Um, but again, I think there is value in, in practicing. 13. It's funny, we have a podcast of this show. It's audio only. So
That's gotta be interesting.
everything we talk about is also, um, there are we have viewers that like listen to this. So maybe there's maybe this could be a bit of ASMR, 14. Unintentional ASMR. 15. 16.
ASMR stresses me out.
Sure.
People do it because it calms them down, and I'm like, I can't do that. It stresses me out.
I just like it when people eat pickles with ASMR.
Yes.
Okay, I have to plead ignorance. I don't know what ASMR is.
You're lucky.
Yeah, I'm missing too much.
Okay.
19. Yeah, it's I forget what the acronym stands for, but it's basically really kind of it's sounds, and it's meant to sort of like, stimulate your ASMR response. So anyway, it's there's all kinds of sounds that, that trigger us. And so the category can be like anything, crumpling paper, or, like whispering into the microphone or something like that. But
Slicing
oftentimes,
kinetic sand.
what's that?
There's popular ones that are slicing that kinetic sand,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
you hear the crumbling of the knife going through the kinetic sand.
Hmm.
Makes my skin crawl.
Yeah, for sure. So, but you never know. I mean, like I said, it's because it's so wide open, you know what I mean? There might be some that's enjoyable too. I'm at 26, 27.
Oh, it's definitely beneficial to a lot of people.
28.
I know a lot of I had a lot of autistic students that they didn't call it ASMR back then. They called it STEM therapy.
Hmm.
Hmm.
And we would do that with them with lots of noises and clicking and tapping, and it would calm them down.
Oh, wow.
31. Yeah, that's it's just fascinating, I think, but I wanted to warn you, right? We also are an audio podcast, so so, so you never know what kind of you know, you never know like what people are going to get out of it. This is so visual. We're together, we're doing this visual thing. I don't know, 35. I'm not really even keeping, count right now. Just sort of enjoying our company, practicing a couple of these ellipses.
Oh,
Sometimes it's
yeah.
there for you. Sometimes it's really there for you. You know what I mean? Like you practice them, and then you need to draw one on the spot, and then you just got it. You've been working on it, and you just got it.
I was going to say that when I asked the question I think it was last week, and you were just saying that you should fully render an image before you do the tattoo. And I mean, people have been telling me that for the longest time. and I'd never done it. I'm always just like, I got this. I'll just wing it, you know. But I finally did it and have been, and it's made all the difference. It has made, I mean, it's like night and day. You know what I mean? Like from going from what am I doing to I know exactly what I'm doing. You know, I know exactly what this is going to look like.
I think that's fantastic. I really
Mm-hmm.
do. I mean, you might, so you have a much more, uh, um, you have a much better notion, but there might be still some stuff you respond to while you're working.
Mm-hmm.
There might be a little tweak here or there where you change it, but yeah, no, I'm so glad to hear you talk about that. I think a lot, I was the same way. I really thought for so long that I could wing it, and so I feel much more confident, and I feel like I get a better result when I do like you just said. Like, I do the due diligence beforehand, I do the homework, and then so I agree with you. I think it's a better way. There's a lot of there's all these other ways that we can sort of practice and we can sort of make experiments and stuff, but when it
Mm-hmm.
comes time to do the tattoo, it's sort of there's so much at stake. You know what I mean? So it can be really um, you know there can be a lot of sort of consequence to experimenting, with the tattoo. So not that
Mm-hmm.
we need to experiment when we do tattooing too. It's not, it's not all fixed and like we know it all. And even if you have the perfect sort of design going in, there's still going to be things. But I really appreciate that you said that, Spirit. I'm glad.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot out of this
Uh,
class.
so we've got another guest joining us, Ricardo. Good morning,
Hey,
Ricardo.
Ricardo.
Hey, Cardo.
Um, well, I've done quite a few ellipses, just sort of, just so random, and just sort of enjoying it. Hey, good morning, Ricardo. There you are.
Morning. How are you going?
Oh, it's so well. It's so great that you could join us today.
Yeah, glad to be
Um,
here, man.
so Ricardo, I was hanging out with Ricardo yesterday on Jason Leeser's show, and Ricardo did a tattoo that he shared with the group. Oh my God, it was so amazing,
It's so smooth.
so good.
Yeah, I saw that. That was ridiculous.
It
Holy
looked
crap!
like they just threw it on.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate that, man. It was a fun one.
You
It,
did that
it
in one
helped.
sitting, okay?
Yeah, one sitting. That's what I was just about to say. It helped that the guy was like very willing and took it like a champ, man. He sat like a rock. So I don't know about you guys, but tattooing sometimes it can get, when you're in that bubble with the other person and they're going through that kind of like, pain, you feel kind of bad sometimes. You're like, okay, where are we at on time?
Yeah.
So for him to be willing to like just lay still like that and like let me you know create the image that he wanted was great. And that helps out a lot. But I appreciate the kind words, guys.
Ricardo, could you spell your last name? I'd like to follow you on Instagram.
Yeah, no problem. It's Sturdivant. It's Sturdivant.
Sweet.
Let me grab some paper real quick. Hang on.
Killer. Um, all right, let's see here. I am. Mm, okay. Cool. So, very good. Uh, I had something to share with us, and so let me see if I can't. Let me see if I can do that. Yeah. I think I can bring it into bring it into something viewable. Hopefully, y'all can see that.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So so this is a chapter. It's from Juliet Aristides' um, the drawing atelier. Let me admit, Jason. We've got Jason in the house, everybody.
Jason.
Hi, Jason.
Jason in the house.
The man, the myth, the legend.
I'm so pleased everyone could join this morning. It's really great to have you. Um, so we've been really covering figure drawing quite a bit lately, and and I think tying these ideas of tonal value, to like being able to draw the figure, I think they're just so important. Um, So that's where I really wanted to share this with you. It's a really great book, The Drawing Atelier by Juliet Aristides. It's really about figure drawing, and so I'm just gonna just cover a couple of uh, the portions from this chapter that I think are so valuable for us. Where's Jason at? Jason, are you here? There he is.
Right here, just fixing coffee.
All right, great.
Oh,
So it's a good prompt. Have a little coffee myself. Mm,
I'll drink to that.
outstanding. All right, so uh, here's a little quote. Um, if you who draw desire to study well and to good purpose, always go slowly to work in your drawings and discriminate in the lights which have the highest degree of brightness, and to what extent, and likewise in the shadow, which are those that are darker than the others, and in what way they intermingle. And when you have thus schooled your hand and your judgment by such diligence, you will acquire rapidity before you are aware. Leonardo da Vinci. Um, right? It's sort of like this, it's like this sort of this calm approach, right? Go slow and take your time. Before you know it, you're going to be much, much quicker, right? You really, really will. It'll be there for you, right? With your diligent practice. But you're going to want to make discernments, and you're going to want to study well. So again, this is it's good advice, right? Because Leonardo da Vinci, um, I think he was the blue Ninja Turtle. Um, but
Yeah, he's the one with the swords. Yeah.
hell yeah.
I have to admit,
So
Donatello should not have been a turtle. It should have been Titian. Donatello was
yeah,
dead when
yeah.
Donnie
That's
got started.
have to write a strongly worded letter to the creators of that series, I think. But or maybe there's a like it should be Ninja Turtles the next generation, and we could do
Yeah.
some modern artists or something, Van Gogh and Picasso the turtle, I don't know, something like that. Anyway, so
New project.
here again we've got these examples of drawing spheres with light on them. So really great practice. I think you're going to end up learning just sort of like the mechanics of how light functions, and then you're just going to really start to sort of see how what a big role shadows play, because so this is something that I recently learned, uh and I guess it makes sense. We are, of course, like, we're three-dimensional beings, right? We've got height, width, and depth, but we don't really perceive, we can't really see depth, right? We can only actually see in two dimensions. This is a really funny thing. We can only see in height and width, but it's depth cues that give us the perception of depth, right? It's light that gives us this sense of depth, of the third dimension. So um, again, I am no scientist, so I cannot like explain it more than that. It might be worth looking into if interested, but it's just this fascinating thing. When we look through our eyes, even if you only, if you, as long as you have one eye that looks, right, you can see what seems like depth, but it's really it's really something that develops in the mind. So I think in a real way, it's probably why we can draw illusions, right? So why we can draw illusionistic images in a two-dimensional format, right? And it looks like 3D because it's the mind that really puts it together. And in order to create that illusion, like understanding how light, and tonal value works, can be really, really like the key to getting that across. Right. So there's some beautiful examples and artworks inside of this chapter. Things that again, I can't recommend enough, like, getting some art books, getting some good art books, and keeping them in your collection and reading them. um I think I'll admit it, like, when I first got my copy of Reinventing the Tattoo in the year 2001. God, I just looked at the pictures. It was like, I just looked at guys' pictures. They were so beautiful. I really didn't read it as, like the way that I do nowadays. I just get so much more out of the reading of it. So I
Mm,
really cannot, I just cannot like recommend enough. Like, yeah, enjoy the pictures and study them too. Read the pictures, but you're also, read the language as well. I think you're gonna get something that's so valuable. So here's a really interesting concept and example that I'd like to highlight. All right, simultaneous contrast. Simultaneous contrast. So I hope that you've all heard of this before, but here's the sort of the way that it works. You can see this example here. Um, in the center, we've got this swatch of gray, right? That appears to be darker because of the context that it's in, right? So over here on the left-hand side, you can see that this swatch of gray, which is consistent, looks a certain relationship to the light side. And then over here, all the way on the right, we can see that in relation to the dark side, it looks much lighter. So again, when you're rendering stuff, it can be super tempting, right? To try to over render it and make everything just so. But oftentimes there's a simultaneous contrast. Again, that like sort of where the mind of the viewer is really doing a lot of the sort of the separating and stuff. So um, I would really sort of encourage you to try this out. Like, try it out in your own compositions and your own sorts of, see if you can recognize it, that it's happening. Something has a particular value, and then it's really how you push the highlight or push the shadow that ends up sort of bringing out the character of it. So simultaneous contrast is, not only is it effective, but it really kind of, it's something that we see often. Um, so here's
Could you go
another
back real
great.
quick and give
Yeah,
multiple? I'm sorry.
no, please, go ahead.
Tones. In this value, such a single mid-tone appears to be lighter when surrounded by darker. Okay, got it.
Hmm. Absolutely, no, please. I love it when you all engage, and sometimes, like, that's the thing. Like, I definitely don't have all the answers, and like getting a question that stumps me and makes me want to go out and like look up some more information, I think is the, well, I win then. You know what I mean? Then I'm the winner. You know what I mean? Because I'm gonna learn. Um,
Is there any
Learning by
way we can
teaching.
post a link to this handout? Um,
well, so it's a book, and I don't know if I can share it. I may be able to share it, closely. I may be committing copyright infringement,
fair enough. Fair
so I
enough.
don't so I have to be careful. But certainly, like, so it's Juliet Aristides, The Drawing Atelier, and so that's this book. um, and it's just an amazing book. I think because I'm only kind of showing a little portion of a chapter, and this is for educational purposes. I think we're within a fair use.
We are.
Um, but at the same time, it's sort of like um, it's so tricky. You know what I mean? It really is so tricky.
Mm.
But but again, it's such a wonderful drawing, and I really kind of feel like this is we're really seeing this simultaneous contrast really exemplified here in this particular drawing. Likely, the paper is the tone, right? The paper is this sort of constant, is that's giving us this particular value and sort of pushing the lights a little bit lighter, pushing the darks a little bit darker here and there. Um, there's a real photographic quality to it, that I think is sort of nice. But again, I mean, this could be drawn from life if you give it enough time. There's a really amazing things that can be drawn from life. So
Damn, that's a drawing.
yeah, yeah. So here we can zoom in a little tighter. You can see the pencil marks and stuff over here. Um, yeah,
That's fantastic.
yeah,
Yeah, it
right.
is.
It's that's pencil. Let's see. I don't know if that gives a simple yeah. So that's by Graydon Parrish. Tragedy. It's from 2002.
Mm.
Charcoal, white chalk on light blue paper. Uh,
Awesome.
24, 24 3/4 by 15 1/4 inches. Yeah, so it's a drawing, and it's 24 by 15, so it's not I mean it's not super huge, 2 feet. Oop. But yeah, if I select it, um, uh, whatever, yeah, that's probably closer to what it would look like on blue paper, So,
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
but yeah, it's
You
but
know,
yeah, beautiful, beautiful rendering and stuff is possible. This is one from the author herself.
that's awesome.
Again, this is a toned paper exercise, right? So what we can see is like the paper has just like has this wash of material. It might be like Conte or something like that. You can see a little bit of the paper showing over in the corner. Um, but then yeah, so pushed and pulled, right? Darker and then also just heightened with a little bit of white. And so and it's as far as line goes, line just sort of, the line is really just sort of holding the shape together.
It's,
There isn't lines that are really sort of like describing anything. It's more fruitful.
that's one
Um,
of the things about art versus tattoo art, you know what I mean? And tattoo illustration or illustration in general is that there's no use of line work in creating depth,
Mm.
along with like what you're talking about with the values and things like that of contrast. It's edging, edges are what help create those tonal values and those shifts and differences of light and dark. So it's really incredible to see like that usage of all those more contrast, higher contrast edges versus the more subtle tones and things like that too, like those gradations. So it's pretty
I
neat to see
I
that.
yeah, couldn't agree
Is
more. I think
that
that's super perceptive.
is that
What was that?
shadow that's creating the top of her is kind of that's creating the edge of the top of her torso? Would that be chiaroscuro?
Yes.
So chiaroscuro is extreme light and dark. So yes, this would definitely have that. This would be an example of the chiaroscuro for sure. It's like it's got the light and the dark. That's really all the examples. I think when you're so if you're outside, for instance, and it's like a kind of a cloudy day, you see that light becomes really diffuse, right? And so everything will kind of be flattened out because the light is so everywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the opposite of the chiaroscuro, right? In a controlled sort of in setting where you have a really strong light, that's when you get this dramatic light and shade, right? Whereas the light becomes sculptural. And so
Mm.
yeah, that's very nice. Nice reference, Spirit. So yeah, you want that extreme light and dark. tenebrism is another word for that same concept. Is the extreme light and dark. And so yeah, absolutely, it's very nice. And then I know that we're getting close to like another example here, which yeah. So
Wow, that's
Oh
cool.
yeah, that's awesome.
this is like a hopper or not. I'm sorry. I'm now I feel self-conscious. Who is this artist? Is it opposite? Millet. Jean-Francois Millet, the lobster fishermen throwing their traps, night effect. So sort of see it. Again, it's, there's a lot of simultaneous contrast, I think, in this particular example. And, and even the moon, that's there is like, it's not this sort of, there's some tone to the paper as well. And it's not like it's bright, it's reflecting, that's how the moon works, right? It reflects the sun back to us, but at night. Um, but yeah, it's just so dramatic and so clear, right? Because of the tonal relationship, because of how uh, how these how these forms are described through just they're made readable because they were made legible, right? We can read them as bodies because they were pushed to give us just this right amount of tone, and it brings it closer, right? It brings it closer to our point of view, where we can see like way off in the distance. It's almost illegible, but there's a little ship probably. I mean, that's what I'm imagining. It could, I guess it could be like an island or something, but I'm imagining that's probably a little ship way off in the corner. Uh, and like we'd have to infer that because it's so light and it's so, sort of hazy. It's kind of hard to make out that detail, but it looks as if it's way, way back there. And again, this goes back to this notion about like we only perceive depth because of its tonal relationship to our imagination. So very, very cool one.
Hey, James, I just did a quick
Yo,
Google search for classical drawing atelier,
yeah,
and that is available as a free PDF download via Google. If you Google it,
Sure.
you can download it and follow along.
hell yeah.
Oh,
I
that's awesome.
I that's where I that's where I got it from, and I wasn't sure if I wasn't sure if it was legit, you know. But thank you for doing that, Jason. I really appreciate it. So it's a really great this is a great resource, and I really do think we want to support though we want to support authors, and
Absolutely.
she has a number of other books as well that are really great, and so I can't recommend I can't recommend her enough. Juliet Aristide is just a brilliant artist and author. But here's another, like, just I don't know. I love this one. This is more contemporary. Here we were. We're just looking at one that was from.
There's another book by a guy named John Berger.
Okay, I'm gonna write that down.
I'm frozen.
John Berger. Cool. Yeah, I thank you, Ricardo. What I'm find is I don't know, I like finding new references. I like finding new things. I think it's you know it and sharing them with each other. It really is this it's just this way that we all get better, right? We all get stronger.
How do you spell
Simplify, right?
atelier?
Simplify. Um let's see if there's hmm, there was just this example here that I wanted to get
Oh,
to.
wow. Look at that.
Um, this sort of information readily available on the internet,
Thank you, Jason.
right? And there's so many different ways to find it. And as long as here it is, we're reinforcing this classical order of light here. Um, I think that if, as long as you start to commit this to your memory, you really start to think about it when you're rendering stuff. I think that this is a good place to start. And then the next thing would be like, how do you assign hierarchy to your subject matter? So like we were looking at earlier with the lobster fishermen, right? They had been assigned like the greatest range of value, from lightest lights to darkest darks for the most part. That's where you're finding that's where you were finding, like, the all of the tone in the fishermen, and that was helping us sort of like know that they were the subject matter. Um, but I think, to Ricardo's point earlier about the edges, I really want to point out, just, like, just quickly, uh, that it's how we render the edges of our shadows that really gives, so some of the most pertinent information. So, for instance, here, when we look, I'll just zoom in a little bit more closely. So when we look here at this sphere, we see this core shadow, right? What this indicates for us is we can see we see this direction of light hitting. This is really the point where the light is totally parallel to the surface of this thing, right? It's passing right past it. The highlight is the is the most perpendicular to the light, right? So it's where the light source is actually, it's perpendicular to the light source, so it's reflecting directly off of it, right? It's hitting this surface and bouncing, right? You can see all the rays bouncing off in this little example up here. Well, here where the darkest part is, it's where the light is passing right past the object. So what's interesting is we've got these two different shadows here. We've got this shadow on the form, which is like a form shadow, and it has a really soft edge, right? It's very, very sort of soft. It's very sort of smooth. And then this casted shadow, well, it is like there's some lightness to it, but it's very crisp, right? And that's a real difference that we find in the shadow family, right? That, like, the shadow on the form has a softer edge, and then the shadow that's being cast is much more crisp, right? It's not until you get, like, so right here, right near right where the cast shadow is close to the object, it's the crispest. It's the crispest. The edge is the most crisp, right? And then as you get back here towards this, towards this edge, it's slightly more diffuse, right? Why? Because there's all sorts of reflected light. Light is actually striking this object, it's hitting the surface, and it's bouncing back onto the object. That's how we can see this somewhat lighter edge. We'd want to think of this, though, I think, in simultaneous contrast terms, though. This little bit of reflected light. And so it's reflecting off this surface and it reflects back, and it's sort of diffusing the edge of the cast shadow ever so slightly. But right here, right where it's closest, you get that sharp edge, as opposed to this softer edge. And then there's just this last little bit that I think is so important, and can be, and then I think this harkens back to, the Da Vinci quote that we talked about earlier. This darkest dark, it's right here. This is the shadow of occlusion. This is where there isn't any of that reflected light isn't getting to, right? And this is it's the darkest of darks. So it's right where this object touches its surface, or touches whatever it's on. So um, having the cast shadow, super important. But then, of course, if you can push, right, push the value just a little bit darker, um, you really end up giving yourself, it grounds it. It gives it this sort of like relationship. Um, and so this is how you could make things sort of appear to levitate, right? You pick it up off the ground, you make the cast shadow on the ground. Maybe this darkest shadow of occlusion, again, there's more words for it: umbra, penumbra, aut umbra. Won't worry about that right now, but there's going to be this little spot where reflected light isn't going to get to, until you get so far away from the surface that light is kind of getting to all of it, right? Then you might have a slightly more consistent cast of shadow. But yeah, this is a very I think helpful way to think about it. Um, and it doesn't it doesn't have to be super complicated. It's I think you think about highlight and you think about shadow, and the way that you end up sort of internalizing that just gives you so much capacity when you're going to draw, that's when you can start to tell that's when you can start to like tell the story about the space, right? You can start to like assign hierarchy. This is darker, this is lighter. Oh, here's another. This is fun, right? So the core shadow, it's also called the bedbug line. And so the bedbug line is uh it's a reference to the old drawing schools in Europe and probably in the US and stuff, like the really old ones, where like these old dirty drawing studios, they would have this really strong light on the subject, whether it's it might be like on the figure or it might be on like a still life or something. And so all the bed bugs would line up right on the shadow, the darkest part of the shadow. So it was so dirty and gross, it's like, so anyway, so that darkest edge, right? That's where all the bed bugs would line up and they wouldn't be in the light. So they would run from the light and then they would start hiding right where the shadow would fall. So that's this core shadow is also called the bed bug line. That's a fun fact.
You know why that's funny
A
to
little bit
me?
of a little bit of-
Is because
What's
I
that?
always
Yeah.
the reason that's funny to me is, and it actually, I'm glad you said that, because I was wondering one day if that terminating line was dark enough, so if something were to live there, would they be in shade? And so that reference actually helps me understand that a lot more. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, yeah. The Terminator,
Screenshot of that.
that's another word that people use for it. The Terminator. I like that one too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just took a screenshot of that chart so I can keep it.
Awesome. Awesome. This is it's very well done. You take your time with it and it's very complicated, I think, but it also as soon as you start to unpack it, it can really become something that's very very useful.
Yeah.
Let's see. We're getting this is the last page. So this last page in this particular chapter. Um, so again, I'm so glad I got a chance to share that with you all. It's something that I think is it's value. We saw it assigned to figures and stuff, and so I think uh, it's really what we were sort of hoping to do today, right? We're really hoping that we could hoping to tie these two concepts together, right? We've been talking about anatomy, we've been talking about like how to sort of capture the figure and gesture, but then once you assign some tonal value to it, that's when you can really start to emphasize, and so you can start to help make legible what your intention is, thus readable, right, for an audience. They can start to understand it. So, uh, why don't we got to, we're, why don't we draw? We've got this really great drawing app that we've been using. Let me see here. I think I gotta make this small again. Yeah, cool. So
Ooh.
I've got our I can share again. Share. Cool. So here's our pose that we can see. And let's see. I like today's poses, right? I know we do so much gesture. I think it would be good to do. Why don't we do two gestures and then we'll do a slightly longer one. So if you all can hang out and do it, Where's the 30-second ones here? Ah, here we go. So I'll just make them like 90 seconds. So that's kind of quick. Well, let's do 2 of these, and then we'll be all warmed up, and then we'll do a 10-minute one. Why not? I really like drawing for a long time. I know it's something, you don't want to belabor it, necessarily. You need to capture some gesture, but I really like having a little bit of time on it myself. But um, let's if everybody's set, you got your drawing paper ready.
Yep.
Why don't we start? 3, 2, 1. Fantastic. So 90 seconds. Cool. All right, time for the next one. Awesome. I really like this. Really like this site. All those maniacs. Royalty free, and it does all of the, does all the timing and stuff. It's shows you so much anatomy as well. So it's a great opportunity to learn that stuff. It can be really difficult to sort of understand what it is you're seeing when you're looking at a body, all of the flesh. Um, I mean, ultimately, that might be what you're trying to get to. You know what I mean? Maybe that's the end result or the goal. You really want to draw the flesh, but um, but this could actually be very, very helpful. I think just it could be, you know what I mean. It could be distracting too. I think it could be also. I was talking to my sister-in-law. She's a nurse. And she's like, oh wow, that probably would be that would probably make it much more complicated. So I don't know. There's probably a little bit of give and take, but I like it. Okay. All right. Cool. 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 Pause. Very nice. Um. So let me see here. Stop. Give me a break. There. Okay. Pose of the day. Might as well go with today's. All right. And yeah, I don't know how long if it's timed or not, but why don't we shoot for like a nice 10-minute thing. It's a nice standing pose. Um, yeah, excellent. So I'm gonna shoot for like set a timer for like 10 minutes, and that way 10 minutes. All right, that way we'll have a little bit of stop it. All right, so 10 minutes, go. So again, I'm gonna compose it on the page and sort of think about how much space the figure is going to take up. I'm also going to think about the balance, right? So this particular figure is balancing on one foot. So there's a certain relationship from the head to the foot. Different relationship from the head to the foot. So find it, drop up my gesture lines. And then again, we were talking last week, there's sort of a halfway point, right? Where it's right there at the crotch. So from the head to the crotch to the foot, you can measure it. And that's really about the halfway spot. So all of the upper torso, all of that, and the head is first the upper half, and then the legs they kind of create the lower half. So if I were to measure, if I were to like take my pencil and just sort of quickly measure, like take the top point of it and use my thumb, top of the head to the chin, and just sort of measure out how many heads that is. 1, 2, 4, 5, 7.5. 7.5 heads tall. Just as a just a quick sort of, I could mark that out roughly. So point. Something like that. Just give myself some parameters to go by. I kind of roughly know that's the my height approximately. So the head's a good place to start with once you have sort of the basic parameters going. And I don't want to get too detailed, but I can start just having that little bit of information. I think can be useful. Next, I like to sort of find that sternal notch, right? So the top of it's the top of the sternum. And I'm going to draw like a straight line, or just a line that sort of follows along all the way down to that midpoint. But from there, I can start to measure out like from the middle, right, from the inside out, and this will sort of allow me to start to proportion this thing. So find there's an angle, particular angle here with the shoulder girdle. Just to take that. All right. Whoops. So how like here's the midpoint. Once I have this sort of head and sort of shoulder girdles kind of like situated, I can start to sort of align, like, all right, there's that inside of that knee, it lines up right. For me, I'm sort of seeing it sort of lines up right between the eyes and the brow ridge. Really important, bony landmark. So it's like that knee. Other one, it's just foot here. Sort of quickly sketching it, once you have, say, a couple of proportions together, for instance, right? So the head to the sternal notch, I could use that as a measurement, right? So I could grab that measurement and take it down and sort of say, like, all right, how many of those are in the sort of leg? I'm sort of finding from the from the ankle bone to the knee, that's approximately that relationship, top of the head to the sternum. So then you just relate the body to itself, right? You just relate the body to itself, and and then you get this really wonderful harmony, right? There's a harmoniousness that starts to emerge. Arms, it's just, I always kind of put the arm after I get the sort of the torso and stuff together. I start to think about the like placing the arms on there. So this arm, particularly from the AC joint, we talked about that last week, but that's the spot where your collarbone meets your shoulder blade. So AC is short for acromioclavicular. But, so it's roughly from there, from the middle to the roughly the eye. That gives us a proportion to use. So that's how far that extends out. And that makes sense. Other side, maybe slightly. Personal. So it's lower. Nice. And you've probably all seen that famous like poster of Michael Jordan spreading his arms out. It says wings underneath it. You know what I'm saying? It's true, right? It's like it's true. You're basically your arms extended out is basically right. It's almost as tall as you are, right? That's another way to measure your height, right? You extend your arms all the way out, fingertip to fingertip, and then that's about how tall you are. So in
Unless you're
this
Michael
particular
Phelps.
class, what's that?
Unless you're Michael Phelps.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
I wonder his arms are longer than he's tall. You
They
think?
are.
That's see? So there's always gonna be, like exceptions to the principle. But it's close, right? They're gonna, so if you get your arms like all, you draw them all stumpy, like there's something about it that, it doesn't feel right. You know what I'm saying? So so yeah, it's a good place to start. You know what I mean? You start to see like, all right, so the from the top of the head to the crotch, that's one half of the body. From the crotch to the foot, that's the other half. So that helps us get the proportions of the legs. And then again, so arms, like how arms are fully extended. How much? How much is that? It's about as tall, right? Well, unless you're Michael Phelps. You'll have to look, right? You'll definitely have to look. Wrong spot though.
Yeah, there was a group of scientists that actually did an anatomical analysis of him when he was winning all those gold medals in the Olympics a few years back. And they actually found that he had a longer arm to leg ratio than the average human. And they said
No
that
wonder he's
maybe gave him a
doing so
little bit
well.
more of an advantage.
Mm-hmm. It was designed to be in the water.
Side note, he also looks exactly like H.P. Lovecraft.
Oh wow, really?
Really?
Did not
Yes,
know
if you
that.
look at a picture of H.P. Lovecraft and a picture of him, they could be the same person.
Oh wow, how about that?
Awesome.
It's the first thing I thought
So
of
it
when I
seems
saw him. I was like,
that's awesome. It seems like the foot that has the bent knee is just a little bit in front of the other leg. That's the sort of the supporting leg. So just a little bit of just arrangement, sketchy sketch. That's it. That's 10 minutes. God, it goes by so fast, right? Especially when you're having
Um,
fun. Um,
Mhm.
well, okay. So let's see here. Stop the share. Um, yeah, yeah. It's sort of like you take a step back and you're like, oh, how did I do? It's like, well, could have done better. Better than
yeah,
some, worse than others. But I think that's the fun of this, right? The fun is really like you struggle through it, and you're really you're working hard trying to get trying to get something out of it. Um, I'll show mine. Let's see, I'll show mine. I would love it if I would love it if any of you would like to I want you to be the yeah. Hoping I can yeah. Okay, there's mine. It looks a little stumpy to me. I'm just sort of looking at it. Could probably do with a little bit of elongating. So if I'll use my liquify tool here just a little bit. Yep, yep,
That's what that does. Interesting.
better. That's
nice.
better.
I
Yeah,
gotta get me one of them.
liquify. Yeah, that's a little bit better. And then it's still, oh my God, it still feels like off. I gotta push it. Yeah, like that. Sorry, I'm shaking the camera all over the place. There. A little bit better, I think, but even still, you know what I mean? It's kind of fun, fun, fun. You know what I mean? Just like super duper fun, and it's that challenge, right? That you try to give yourself a time drawing, and you try to work through it. But again, as I was working through it, I was trying to share my strategies of how I like try to move through the figure. Um, definitely like composing it, the top and the bottom, just trying to figure out like how tall the overall thing is, finding that middle point, right? And that's probably, again, that's probably I have it probably a little bit too low. That's probably better. Yeah. Right. Right there at the synthesis pubis, right? The crotch that is the middle point of the body. And then again, sort of, I grab this measurement if I were to measure, this the wingspan of the arms and then compare it to the height. It's yeah, see, pretty close. So in this particular figure, that's a relationship that we were able to sort of use there, uh, and it was helpful because otherwise, I mean, if I think if I kind of like just started out with drawing like say the fingers and then trying to get to the rest of it, it would have been hard to maintain any relationship and a proportion. I think that like that's something that I know I certainly tried to do in the beginning, when I first started drawing figures is like I would, I'm like really attracted to the eyes. This is something Jason was talking about on his show yesterday about how eyes are such a focal point. They're such a, they become they're something that we're all really attracted to. You kind of start with the eyeball and you draw the whole thing. It's like, well, before you know it, you are lost in the woods. So, you delay that gratification, you get everything sort of, together, proportion, and then you can really draw that eyeball and make it just so wonderful. So, but yeah, about 7.5 heads tall. Did a measurement where I looked at like the head height and trying to do it, bring it down roughly roughed out about 7.5 heads because that's what I looked at the model. Not to say that that's always that way. Just like we were talking about how everybody's a little bit different. Um, but there's that's a place that you can start. 7 heads tall, 8 heads tall, 7.5 heads tall, something like that. Um, but the from the top of the head to this sternal notch, that was an important sort of relationship. And then after that, I could use that to also gauge width, right? Likely that amount corresponds to the to that amount, right? top of the head to the sternal notch corresponds to the distance between the AC joints and that sort of a thing. You just sort of find those fun relations, look around, they're all over the place. It has to do with like Fibonacci sequence and stuff, you know what I mean? It's like it has to do with gold, the golden section, and how we sort of like how we relate to ourselves. But let's see here. I want to remove this pin. I hope. Mm, Okay. All right, cool. So, would anyone else want to share their drawings? I would love to see everybody else's.
Oh,
I'll
sure.
go.
Amber, hold on a second.
There you go.
I'm gonna get you the spotlight. Oh, there you are. You're on. Oh my God, so awesome. Seriously.
Definitely better than it was last week.
It's like it's getting so much better so quick.
Well,
Seriously.
I've been retaking the classes. Like I'll rewatch it and do it again for practice.
That's amazing. That is
Great.
It's so good. Oh, I'm so proud of you. That's awesome. Great work,
Thank you.
Amber.
Good job.
Seriously. Yeah, it's starting to pay off already, but keep at it because I
I
really
am.
think, I really think that like think about it. If this is how good you can get, you know what I mean, in such a short amount of time, we saw some, I think, amazing drawings today. People are
Yeah,
capable.
we
You're
did.
capable, right? You're capable of like, I think, really doing, amazing things. You all are. So, but anyway, great work. Excellent work.
Thank you.
All right. Who wants to go next?
I'll go.
Ricardo.
So good.
There you go.
So good.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's beautiful, and and you do this like really wonderful triangulation thing. You find all these angles, and
Yeah.
yeah,
That looks like the
yeah,
Kabbalah.
I was thinking the same thing. It looks
totally.
like the
Oh,
sacred tree.
here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go. Break it down for him, Ricardo.
It's the geometric tree.
Yes. I thought that's
Yeah.
what it looked like.
It's in everything. It's in circles. Right, Jason?
Yeah.
Or triangles,
It's
because we
actually
all know
this,
that those are everywhere.
yeah, and it's in the center of the seat of life too.
Hmm.
I use this composition for faces, bodies, everything.
Wow. And I could just look it up. It's called the geometric tree.
Well, the geometric tree is just a slight bit longer, but it's actually, if you look up the seat of life and you look at the center and you find the points, it stems out from the center, and every intersection is like an intersecting point on the circles that meet each other in the center of the seat of life. Yeah, but they make all these angles too, triangles.
Hmm.
I have a book on sacred geometry that's in. I have to reread that book now.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's wonderful, Ricardo. Thank you so much. And like, so I think uh I love the strong contours that you were able to add. It really brings a lot of readability to the whole thing. And uh so it's what makes it too. Like you were able um to use your method to get a really great proportion, but then you went for it and added that extra push of tone that really kind of helps, that brings it to life for us. So I love it.
Thanks.
Great work. Yeah,
Thank
great
you.
work. Awesome. Cool. All right. Any other takers? Who else wants to go?
I'll
I'll
go.
go. Oh, go
All
ahead.
right.
Okay, here we go.
Let's see. Hold on a second. I'm gonna get you.
Hold on, let me
Yeah,
take
there
my
you are. Gotcha.
blur
Okay.
off. Hold on one second. Do 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 do. All right, there we go.
Yeah.
Outstanding. Yeah, outstanding. Why aren't you? I want to make you the. Oh, want to make you the spotlight spirit. For some reason, I'm having a, let's see, and then, okay, there you. So you are
Nice.
nice. Yeah, it's really nice. So how are you feeling about it? What's your sort of takeaways?
Um, I love this particular exercise because the human body is probably one of the most complex structures in the universe. And just being able to like create it is really something. And then especially like some of the other poses that we did were very difficult. Well, like when the people were kind of like balled up. I don't know why. I think that might have been very difficult because I wasn't able to really see the other parts of the body so as to do a good job with proportions. And so this pose I think was great because you could see everything. It's almost like, you know what I'm saying, the Vitruvian man. And you can, put all the angles together and make everything proportional. But yeah, I'm really getting a lot out of this.
I agree. I really think that there is real improvement and just an overall like the proportions you're able to get, and then again the confidence is strong, right? You had nice strong lines, and that's confidence, and I think that's really kind of like ultimately that's what I think that's what I hope I'm doing here. You know what I mean? Is like that. I hope that you all walk away from this like feeling more confident. Like you feeling more knowledgeable, and then yeah, we have a good time. Yeah, we do all kinds of hopefully we talk about stuff that's interesting, but confidence, right? Like
Yeah.
it's so important for an art practice, and
Mhm.
so that's what I'm seeing, just confidence and you know again we may do something that's not as accurate, or I mean, or whatever, but you never know. Sometimes it's like it's that little something that that becomes you know the thing. It
Right.
becomes the
Yeah.
part about the work of art that that just somebody else responds to. And ultimately I think we're always making it for we make it for ourselves, but for the other, right? We make it for other people too, even like the other part of ourselves that that loves to see that sort of thing in the world. So anyway, yeah, super duper spirit. Thank you so much. Awesome. All right. And so who other who else wants to show some of their work? Jason. All right, let's see. Add spotlight and spotlight. Awesome.
Yeah.
And you were able to get some rendering in there. Some really wonderful rendering.
Ooh, ooh.
Yeah. Oh, it's really smooth, and there's a really wonderful like highlight and stuff that you were able to capture. Um, yeah, I think that's exceptional for given the amount of time that we had. You really were able to
Really.
sort of talk to us a little bit about it. I'd love to hear like your process and like sort of like how
So
you worked through this.
I break a lot of things down based on just like illustration and building a form through illustration, wireframes, stuff like that. But once I've got like a basic structure of, okay, if this is the size of my head, I know by proportion that the head is going to be this many body lengths, and I know that the legs are going to be this many body lengths. So I already know, okay, so if this is this size, here's this, here's this, here's this. I'll just do a quick rough through to get the contour, the angles of the shoulders, the angles of the hips. But then once I've got the basic directions, a lot of it's just volume shading and volume drawing, where I'm not even going through and trying to figure out a contour. I'm just going with small circles, filling in the form and creating that value and that volume as I'm sketching it in. And what that ends up leading to is the fact that I already have some volume. So just go through, take your eraser after the fact and create some little highlights because you're creating that rounded texture, that rounded volume. And,
Mhm.
different places where you have different tapers, different shapes, marking where the knees are, marking the elbows, looking at the contour of like the bicep and tricep that forms that upper arm, right? And that
Hmm.
if you just kind of mark that through real lightly, real quick, it creates that shadow for you. You don't even have to try,
Yeah.
because where those natural forms are going to curve, you're going to have a little bit of a slight shadow, like where the bicep and tricep meet. That creates a slight indent. That's going to create a slightly darker area. So I don't really
Mm.
try to do too much. I just try to go through and figure out muscle structures. And okay, if this is where this is, here's the trapezius. Okay, these are going to be where my lateral muscles are. This is where the solar plexus is. So now that I know where that is and I've got that roughed out, it's just a whole bunch of like small loose circles.
Well, wonderful. I don't, I wouldn't downplay it. Like, I think it's, not everybody can do that, what you just sort of talked about. So I'm really, but I'm like super stoked on you. You know what I mean? Like that was it's a really great drawing.
If
And
this was
then
last year, I would not have
you're
been
just
able to
really,
do
you're
that.
really smart, Jason. So, you know, just you're really knowledgeable too. And so I think it helps. And so it's a really great example to all of us, right? So learn that language and like
Jason,
look for those things. So really
you
great. Go
you
ahead.
said that you wouldn't have been able to do this last year.
No.
What?
Ricardo can attest to that. He's seen my evolution over the past 2 years.
Yeah, man, you've come a long way, dude. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Quick
I
Oh
too.
would
wow.
not have been able to do that a year ago. Guaranteed.
Yep.
What
Absolutely.
habits have you implemented in your life to be able to get to this point?
Well, I changed the way that I looked at sketching. Instead of starting to sketch off with a predefined idea of like, okay, this is where this edge is, this is where this bound is. Instead, I just started keeping everything. And Ricardo, I thank you for this, and I completely blame you for this. So it's your fault. Um, but I started taking a much more loose kind of methodology when it comes down to creating forms and structures. Very loose, very light, kind of just blocking in certain parts and certain areas. And because you're blocking it in so light initially, it doesn't matter if it's off, right? You can
Mm.
always redefine that form later on as you build darker. And I was working on that for a long, long time. And I overheard a conversation between Steve Moore and James Tex, two artists that I really, really admire. And I overheard this conversation at the Deadly Convention in June. And it was just like this light bulb went off in my mind, where I was like, why have I not really seen or tried that before? So I kind of combine Ricardo's philosophy of keep it loose, keep it light, block it in, right? And their conversation was all about volume sketching
Yep.
and how everything that they do, they're not starting out with like straight up and down lines or like, side to side lines. They're starting off when they're sketching, they're going in circles, creating volume as they're just getting their initial sketch down. And it
Mm.
kind of blew my mind as far as you're creating volume, you're creating shadows and highlights, you're creating form, right? But you're still sketching. So as long as you know your basic proportions and like where the knee ends and is that right? Where's the ankle? Where's that sitting? Where's that in relationship, to the hip line? And what's the angle of the hip line? Once you've got your basic angles in, start volume sketching and just start trying to go through and map out the volume that's there for that individual piece. If you have to erase a little bit, erase a little bit, to get the right angles, but you're creating that volume and those tones as you're creating this form. And
Mm.
I started trying that out probably June, end of June, beginning of July. And I've tried to utilize that for everything that I sketch now. And it's cutting down my drawing time in half. And because I'm already creating that volume, I no longer have to guess at, well, where does this round over? Where does this meet this? Because anywhere where you start sketching a volume, say you finish up, um, say you finish up like a thigh area, right? from knee to hip. Well, anywhere, if you start working on the lower leg from the top of the knee to the ankle, and you start doing some overlaying volume sketching over top of that, it's going to create a darker form where that kneecap is anyway. And it's going to, from your underlying curve below the knee for the top of for the thigh area, and the top of the curve for the lower leg, you create a circle for the knee, right? So by going through and just sketching in that volume real quick, you're creating that rounded form already.
It's
Wow.
also going back to exactly what James was teaching today about the ambient occlusion and the Terminator edge and things like that. You know what I mean? Like you're creating that through all that light sketching, and then you just literally like go through and just kind of erase the highlight, and then boom, you have the illusion of that form. Yeah.
Because
so you're
as
kind of
one of the principles of drawing is you draw in the what was it that my teacher always told me? Draw in the direction of the form.
Yep.
So if you're drawing in a circle, you're not gonna go straight across, right? You're gonna go in curves because it's a curved form. The human body's a curved form.
Yep.
Sketch in the same way.
So you're just creating that illusion through sketching it. Yeah, and it's great.
Wow.
It's something that I picked up in with charcoal drawing. You know what I mean? Charcoal drawing for sure, and kneaded erasers. It's like you are literally laying down that wash form, and you're just adding a little bit more contrast to it, and you're capturing the shape and the highlight.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's awesome, Jason. That's a great way to explain it, dude.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, man.
I really appreciate your approach here. Everyone's approach, I think, has been, it's we're helping each other.
Yeah.
I think we're all. I think this is very much a space where everybody is developing their skills, and we're all getting a little bit from the other, and like rather than saying that there's this right way, right? You might end up, we might end up taking a little bit of everyone's approach and applying it to a particular, you'll know when the right time to use it. I think that's sort of like, that's what experience gives us, this intuition, right? You get all this experience, you practice, you go through it, and you end up just sort of knowing what to do. Takes time, takes experience, but I definitely think,
And a lot of late nights
it's something
drawing.
that is so valuable. Harriet,
Of all the
yeah,
ideas,
it's
that
your turn.
collaboration.
We're
Oh,
gonna
this is so
spotlight you.
embarrassing, dear.
Let's see what you got.
Okay.
Woo!
Took some
Awesome.
notes as you guys were talking and put kind of a tree in and put Ricardo's name and put Jason up there with the loose circles.
Cool.
That
So
is a
good.
vast
Nice.
improvement.
Yeah.
And I draw very lightly, so that shows I'm not very confident yet.
Well, that's
That's
all
the way you
right.
should.
Yeah, that's all right. You're working on it.
Nice.
Yeah.
And
That's
you're
fantastic.
working analog today, and I think that's also something, that's it's something that, like, it's really good to keep your hand on the paper too. We all, like, so often, I sort of find that I'm like, I'm working on my tablet so much. I'll go to, like, I'll go on a paper, and I'll try to, like, zoom in. I'll try to pinch it and zoom in. I don't know if anybody else ever experiences that, but
Oh yeah, man. Sometimes
When
that's
I
what I
want
do
to
with
erase, I press
tattoos.
the paper.
yeah. But no, I love it.
Tattoo.
I think that probably, you just sort of, you kind of ran out of room on the, for the arms,
Yeah.
because it was so tall, and I think,
Okay.
that's just something, let those fall off the page. That's
Yeah.
totally fine. But otherwise, I like all of the relationships that you were finding there. I think that's really going to be, it's just keep developing and keep practicing. And,
Used a lot of eraser on this. I put too many sections in and I realized, oh goodness, my body was like from here to here, and I kind of erase and do it over. But
No, I think
easier
that's
on the paper. I just so appreciate everybody's ideas, and they're so good. The collaboration is fantastic.
Yeah.
Really like it.
oh my God, that's amazing. Yeah, no, I think we all got a lot of really um we all got a lot of really great, sort of feedback today, and then also,
Mm,
like just some I think, just some like some great ideas, some great insights into the practices that everybody has.
Mhm.
So, I'm I'm super grateful for everybody's contributions. I think right. So, because you can thank Spirit, everybody. But Spirit asked for some homework last time, and I think that's a great this would be it'd be a great sort of moment. Um, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna commit. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna draw and render uh, these two objects, right? So egg and
Eggs are tricky.
avocado,
Mhm.
because I want to do an experiment. I want to see like, and then again, I may be on gray paper, I may be on white paper. I'm not sure yet, but I'm gonna do it. And you're welcome to do it too. You want to show it off next week? I'd love that, right? So the whole object will be, of course, this avocado is not exactly egg shaped. This egg is pretty perfect for the most part. It's just about perfect, but avocado might have a little bit more organic quality. I might get the nub in it. Um, but I think the object is going to be, I want to describe the tonal value. Um, you know, I want to try to render these two and see what the difference is, right? See, like, so this avocado is going to have, like, it's going to have a light half and a dark half, right? Have a strong light on it. How dark does the dark get? How light is the light? And same with this, right? And then sort of contrast that with cast shadows and stuff. So I think it'll be a fun experiment. You know, time yourself. Make it like 10 minutes or something. You know what I mean? Make it 15 minutes, whatever you're comfortable with. Like try Jason's volume shading, right? Try Ricardo's, seed of life. Do some measuring and stuff. Do it on paper, do it on your iPad, whatever, you know what I mean, whatever it takes. But I think, again, so no pressure, there's no grade. But make some time, right? Set aside some time for yourself. Do some drawing that's not for your appointments, right? Maybe even some drawing that's not, that's not this, it's not this homework assignment. Try to draw for the pleasure of it, because I think it's just super important, you know, for your spirit, right? That you draw. So I think this was a great episode, and also just a really great time, being
definitely.
able to be with all of you. So, any last final questions or thoughts?
I really look forward to this class every Monday. It has been,
Exactly.
oh my God, Amber, like I can't tell you just how great it is to just have an art teacher in your life, for an artist, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I really, really thank you guys so much, all of you guys, for being a part of this class and just being such an integral part of my life and my journey as an artist. So I appreciate you guys.
Awesome.
That is really very generous. Thank you so much. Well, so does anybody want to sign off real quick? Um, see if you want to, kind of tell us your name, so if we can find you anywhere since you're here. We'd love to promote you too. So
Ricardo,
Sure,
you
I'll
want to
go.
go?
Sure, I'll go. Okay, my name is Ricardo Sertivant. Thank you, James, for letting me be a part of the class. It's been a great time, man. I agree with Spirit. You're doing a great job. Keep it up, dude. Jason, it's always good to see you. Amber as well. Harriet and Spirit, it's nice to meet you guys. Nice to see some new faces and stuff on here and hear all the positive feedback, man. It's awesome. You can reach me on Instagram at Ricardo Sertivant. You can also reach me here or join me here, zoom in feel free to. And Tuesday mornings for Tuesday Feels at 10 a.m. It's always a good time. Sometimes we'll go over some art stuff. Sometimes we'll just talk about tattoo stuff. Sometimes we talk about life stuff and how they all relate to each other. That's one of my favorite things to do. So if you guys get a chance, hop on in, say what's up. Thanks for having me, James.
Thanks, Ricardo.
Yeah.
Jason.
So I'm Jason Leeser. I host the 1 o'clock in the afternoon drawing group on Sundays here at Reinventing the Tattoo. Feel free to join in. Feel free to zoom in. You know, I try to do it every Sunday, unless I'm traveling, but that's a different story. Then I usually try to do like live convention coverage. But yeah, stop on in. You know, it's always a good place to come and talk. I'm usually working on a painting or, you know, a sketch or a drawing or layout design for something. If anyone ever has any questions, you can reach me on Instagram at Philly Inc. PhillYink. Yeah, so I'm always available.
Thank you, Jason. Amber.
And thank you very much for the invitation.
Oh, of course. Absolutely.
I am Amber Morgaine. You can find me on Instagram under Amber Morgaine or on Facebook under Amber Morgaine Originals and Looking Glass Inc.
Killer.
Thank you so much, Amber. It's great to see you again.
You too.
Spirit, you want to give us a sign off?
Yeah, totally. You can find me on Instagram at Tattoos by Spirit, everything spelled correctly. That's about it. And I'm Henry F. Henderson on Facebook, but you know, just follow me on Instagram. It's fine. Again, I also definitely want to make sure I check out Jason and Ricardo's class. You know, just be a part of that experience. I'm looking for Mondays right now is the only time that I can actually dedicate to it. But I definitely want to make sure I tune in when I get a chance for the other guys' classes. So
Yeah. Thanks, man.
totally.
Thank you.
Thank you, Spirit. Harriet.
I'm not on Instagram. I'm not an artist. I'm just watching this to learn. I'm a lifelong learner, and this is an excellent class to do it with. So you can't find me anywhere, sorry, except here on Monday morning.
That's great. No, it's great. It's great to find you. So, thank you so much, Harriet. Thank you, everyone, for coming. I'll sign off too. I'm James Wisdom. Thank you for watching Drawing for Tattooers every Monday at 9 a.m. Eastern on Reinventing the Tattoo. Happy drawing, everyone, and we'll see you next stream.